Hi, I'm Reuben Franco, President and CEO of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm also the Center Director of our Small Business Development Center. We will help businesses like yourself do business with some of our larger members, like Hyundai, who we're here with today. I'm here with Brandon Ramirez, who is the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility and External Relations for Hyundai. That's a big job, it sounds like. And I want to ask Brandon, tell us a little bit about yourself and the company.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to be in this role because I get to work with the community all across the country. And thank you for giving us this opportunity. With Hyundai, we're all in. We want to be a world-class organization, and in order to be a world-class organization for Hyundai, we want to be as inclusive and diverse as possible. So all our we have the most talented employees in this organization. And the one thing is they have different backgrounds, different beliefs, different inspirations. And we want like-minded suppliers to also be part of us. Now, we have over 800 dealers across the country, and we have customers all across the United States. So we want to be able to provide excellent service to all of them. And that's where the suppliers come in.
Well, that's great. How do you do business with Hyundai and Genesis? How does a small business do business with you guys?
Yeah, Reuben, it's actually very simple. So the first step is the supplier would go to our corporate webpage. It's HyundaiUSA.com. When you're there, you just scroll all the way down to the section of about Hyundai. You click on our company, and then you click on register as a supplier. And there it is a questionnaire. And with this questionnaire, we ask the supplier to fill it out as comprehensively as possible. And with that information, that gets sent over to the purchasing group. And they weigh it against the current and future needs. And if there's a project in the future, what they do is they look at the supplier information and they compare it to the needs of the project. And then they send it over to the business unit for the RFP process to start. And RFP is a request for a proposal.
Right.
And then that's when the business unit asks for bids.
Oh, that's great. What are you looking for from a business supplier to work with you? I mean, who do you work for first?
Yeah, there's three things. One is definitely the supplier has to have that entrepreneurial spirit.
Sure.
But the key to that is be collaborative with the business unit. The second thing is we have to address the needs of the project. So there are some projects that are more national based where it has to be national in scope, where it affects all the dealers or all the customers across the United States. But we also look locally. We're based here out of Fountain Valley, California. And so we have local needs for that as well. The third thing that we look for is the capabilities of the supplier. Now, all the business units, they have different needs. Some may be looking for technical expertise on anything, or maybe it could be just printing or setting up displays for Hyundai and Genesis. We need to, what we do is we evaluate those needs and then based off of that, suggest it to the business unit.
Well, that's great. So that's who you work with. What are you looking for as far as products and supplies?
Yeah. So there are several things that we look for. Number one is, of course, they have to fulfill the needs of the project.
Sure.
Another area is they have to be in good business standing. And then another area that we look at is reputation and word of mouth. We still do that. Also, competitive pricing. Another area that we look at is how the supplier differentiates with other suppliers. That's a key area that we need to know, because we need to know how each of the suppliers differ. Also, at our company, privacy is very important. Insurance is very important. So we call it personal identifiable information. That is very important to us. So in the bids, we ask that the supplier addresses those areas.
Oh, that's great. What kind of outreach or upcoming events that you might have right now going on with Hyundai?
Yeah, so due to abundance of caution due to COVID, because it seems like we overcome COVID on one, and then there's a
Right.
variant.
Yeah,
So
sure.
we don't have an in-person supplier event coming up, but the great thing about our purchasing process is that to register as a supplier, all you go on is HyundaiUSA.com. And there you can register any time of day that you want. Now, how do we communicate doing business with Hyundai? This is where Reuben, you shine, and the Hispanic Chamber, because you reached out to us and expressed this need. And we're so happy that you reached out so that way we can highlight what are the steps in being a supplier at Hyundai. So thank you, Reuben.
Absolutely. Any tips on like some of the things that you see that people make errors on when they're submitting an RFP?
Yeah, so if there's one word to characterize everything, it's thoroughness. So there's actually three things mistakes that people make. One is even on the questionnaire to be thorough enough, because what happens is if you're not thorough enough and it's incomplete, we can't use that information. So it's very important with the questionnaire when you're on Hyundai USA to have complete information. The second thing, in the bid process, the purchasing group has asked if it could be clear, concise, and again, that word thoroughness is very important.
Yeah.
The third thing is when you're in the RFP process, when you are asked to give a bid. Now, I know from any type of business, there's going to be some time period where you're too busy for this or that. If you're asked to provide a bid, we suggest, if you're interested in doing business with Hyundai, if you can't provide a bid, write in no bid and then provide rationale. Now, the reason for that is to tell the business unit and the purchasing group that, hey, I'm still interested. It's just at this time period, I'm not. And so that way, when another project arises, the purchasing group and the business unit can reach out for another bid.
That's great. Do you guys have any supplier diversity goals? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, we have two general goals. One is to be as inclusive whenever possible. The second goal is we try to have at least one minority supplier in our RFP process. So those are our general goals, but we try to be as diverse and inclusive as possible.
Any last tips you want to give some businesses on how to do business with Hyundai?
Yeah, so I have several tips. One of them is throughout the process, you need to highlight what your key selling point or your unique selling point is. There are large companies that have economies of scale. This is a way for you guys to tell us how you differ from those companies. And we value creativity in everything that we're doing. And that's an area where you're able to shine. Another thing that we look for is a diversified customer list. So let's say the supplier, what we want them to do is have more businesses, a diverse portfolio, so that way they're not relying only on Hyundai as their primary source of income. Another area is in the bid process. To definitely do not ignore the insurance or the privacy requests. Please respond to those because that is very important to us. There's two remaining suggestions. One is be flexible throughout this process. Whether you're in the application process or in the bidding process, or like say you are doing business with Hyundai, my recommendation is to be flexible in working with Hyundai. And the last thing I suggest is when you're doing business with Hyundai, take the lead and treat yourself as part of the business unit. Because if you do it that way, the business unit and you are an extension of the business, and you guys are working together to complete a common goal.
Well, that's great. about time for us to close, and I just wanted to thank Hyundai USA and Brandon and all your colleagues here to your commitment to our community, not just the chamber, but the community itself, to our small business development program, which allows us to do these type of resources for no cost because of your support and others. So thank you once again for everything you do, and we look forward to continued long partnership that we have with you.
Thank you, Reuben.
Thank you. Good seeing you.